Take an adventure into the paranormal, where you will discover many haunted locations, hear personal stories about paranormal encounters, and see a supernatural world through the eyes of experienced paranormal researchers Joe Franke and Dr. Heather Lee. Joe Franke is a veteran in the paranormal world, beginning his journey in 1986 as an apprentice, working alongside his mentors, renowned researchers Ed and Lorraine Warren. Today, Joe is an accomplished paranormal researcher, demonologist, consultant, and lecturer with over 37 years of experience. Dr. Heather Lee is the founder of Exploration Paranormal, based out of Southwest Central Florida, with more than 35 years' experience researching and investigating paranormal activity. She is a member of Paranexus, Anomalous Research Association, and the Witches Paranormal Society. Now, your hosts of Passport to the Paranormal, Joe Franke and Dr. Heather Lee.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to the show tonight. So excited to have everybody here. It is going to be a fun show. I got to put my glasses on and see what that one says.
It started already.
I know. Yeah. Well,
Here come the fun.
I'll be the one picking on Aidan.
Can't wait to see some of the questions we get.
I know some stuff may move behind me, so we'll see.
And I see Lee's already joining us. I'm super excited to have Lee at our night show. She usually makes our daytime shows. And it looks like Jeff is here. Oh my God, his favorite author. Are you talking about Emily or me, Jeff? Be a little bit more specific.
Ooh. Uh-oh. We're going to throw hands.
Yeah, sorry, Heather. Yep. But I actually do have your book here.
Oh, that's sweet. I have yours in the bookshelf somewhere in that general region.
I have my ladybug necklace on, as always. Anybody can see it. It's my little ladybug necklace.
Oh,
Yeah, you have your tattoo, right?
Thanks, Courtney.
The ladybug tattoo. There we go. Oh, see it.
Yeah, there it is.
Whatever.
Hi, look at Courtney.
Oh, jeez, they shouldn't have done that. Jesus.
Todd's probably backstage laughing at us and having fun. Like he always does. He says it's always a fun show. And there comes the private chat coming through.
Oh, we have a blast.
Yeah,
I gotta make sure I don't start typing stuff in the comments. It's supposed to go into the private chat.
I know. And what's funny is on my other show, Philip didn't realize that that's what it's for. So he thought that the private chat would have been comments. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you weren't commenting all this time and letting people know.
I don't want to be talking about Jeff behind his back and him seeing it. But
oh yeah. Oh, don't worry. Whatever you say, I tell Jeff anyway. No.
That's okay too. That works.
I'm kidding. But thank you everybody for joining us. And super excited for tonight. Tonight, Joe wanted to bring on the kids to have a little fun. And I think when it comes to the paranormal, you raised your kids a little bit differently than I raised mine. I kind of threw him into investigations at 15. And yeah.
Actually, I didn't raise them. My wife did because I was never home. I was out ghost hunting, and Laura was home with the kids. So, great job, Mama. If you're out there listening, I don't want to get in trouble later.
No, she did do a great job from what I hear.
Yep.
Well, we're still here, so.
I know after all of the Tamagotchis, I kept killing them off. I was afraid when I had Aidan that he wouldn't make it past 2 years old.
Right.
Yeah, well, when we were talking about Heather some weeks ago before our first show, I said, wouldn't it be cool to see if our children, our adult children, I mean, my girls are twins. They're 24 years old. And Aidan, you're what, 20, 19, 20?
19.
Wow, I'm getting old.
I miss those days.
Yeah, I mean, so I just want to be
stay young while you can.
I thought it'd be cool for maybe the girls and Aidan to talk about what it's like to have paranormal parents, and maybe some people have some questions for the kids that they want to answer, and stop listening to me.
24 years of it.
Yeah, you do talk a lot,
All right, I'll just drink the whole show.
I'm just.
Well, we can start by talking about the upbringing, just because you mentioned throwing him in at 15. We remember growing up with our father being like, I don't want to get you involved with this. It's very serious stuff. He always said something like you won't get to go on an investigation until you're at least like 18. Well, now we're 24. We still haven't been on.
No, it was more like you're not dating until you're 30. That's what it was.
That didn't work either.
No.
Well, from the times that I can remember, I will never miss one of my dad's lectures. I will never, ever, ever miss one of them. I'm such a huge supporter of what he does. Yeah. He helps so many families, and I appreciate everything that he does, and everything that you guys do together is just wonderful. I just kudos to all of you guys. Thank you so much. You're helping a lot of people, especially with things that they may not understand.
Yeah.
I see a question coming in from Lee Warner, and it says, did you tell your friends what your parents did? And at least my answer for that is yes, but it's always like, it's not like, hi, I'm Hailey, my dad's a paranormal investigator. Like, it's always like, yes, it has to be related. It comes in randomly if we end up talking about parents, or it's always, it has to come in randomly. But when it does, that's when they're like, what? That's crazy. And they'll ask all these questions that I can't answer because I'm not him. But yeah, a lot of people know the Warrens, which hopefully the people watching know are the famous paranormal investigators, the most famous, I'd say. So I'll usually start with that. Like, yeah, if you know the Warrens, my father trained under them. And usually the conversation turns to belief in spirits and the paranormal realm, to which I answer, like, I wouldn't believe, I can't not believe in it. He's been doing it for so long. I don't think he's lying, Yeah. So yeah, we told
how I
37 years, and I'm good at it.
Not that old.
Are you?
So for me, it's a little different. What's really cool is so Hailey and I growing up, we totally are two different peas in the pod. I'm the athlete, Hailey's the theatrical musical person, where that I was totally not in that spectrum. So our friends were totally different. So for me, I was always so hyped up where I was like, oh yeah, guess what my dad does? And they're like, no way, and that's so cool. And I'm like, yeah, and verbatim, I would say how he got started with the Warrens, when he was 18 years old, and how Lorraine cocked her head and said, honey, have we met before? I mean, to the T, because I just know the story by heart. And I think my reaction to all that is I just think it's really, really fascinating. I never want to make people believe in the paranormal world if they don't. Everybody has a right to their belief and their opinions. However, it's really cool in the fact that I feel like a lot of people have supported my father, joined in on his hours. They asked to go on investigations with him, and I'm like, no, he won't even let us go yet. I don't think you're gonna go, buddy. So I think it's pretty cool, share. And every time the song Ghostbuster comes on and starts playing, I'm like, who are you gonna call? So we sang Joe Franke.
No, we used to say our dad. It's so embarrassing to think about.
Fair enough.
I'm so embarrassed. But yeah, but you said the fact that we still haven't been on one. But honestly, once you get past 18, you go off to college, you start working, you leave. I'm from New York, so I came home to do this with him. I don't, I'm not home as often, so I don't get to go on these investigations enough. But we've got some people in the comments saying that he's being protective, which is fair considering the stories that we've heard about these situations and these investigations. So we appreciate everyone appreciating him for protecting us.
Well, usually when I get involved in a case, it's pretty bad. I don't get into the cases where too much unless I'm needed, where there may be a friendly earthbound spirit, or grandma's ghost coming to visit because there was a newborn child in the family, or a spirit has come in a time of great strife for support. I usually get called when there's something negative, or something that's evil, and there's malevolent things going on in the home or business. that's when I get involved normally, and especially if there's children involved. So I've been I've been very protective. I mean, they're 24 years old now, so yeah, maybe it's time I start introducing him. And I've been weaning him into the work through my lectures.
Mhm.
You know, I know Hailey's not around a lot, but Emily is at every one of my lectures. She's my most faithful supporter, and she's also my security. So
Mhm.
I want to
no,
let Aidan get some time in here.
Yeah, I've just been sitting here.
I just realized I didn't put his name in the chat. So this is Aidan, for those of you who don't know.
I gotta do it this way. I went to go this.
It's opposite.
Yes, I DJ.
But yeah, I mean,
I saw that, Jeff.
Trying to get DJ.
sorry, the dog's trying to get on camera. But yeah, I brought him in. The team that I was working on, we did a Halloween event at a local museum, and we were doing mock investigations to show the kids what we did. And that was his very first investigation. And ever since that, he loved it. But he never did residentials. So I don't know if you want to talk about what you like about it. And did you, I mean, hear you talking about it to your friends when you're on the computer, but
sometimes, yeah. I guess the one thing I like about it is that no matter what you do, you just sound like a nutter. So you got to admit, it's you talking into an empty room with a recorder and a device that just keeps making noise.
I do that all the time. It's acting. It's called a self-tape.
Yeah, like what you said about how he kept you away from most of it. Mom just was the guy in the plane throwing the paratroopers out with me. Just throw.
Yeah, I don't even think I was with him on his first investigation. I was at the museum doing other stuff, and he went off with another team member to do the investigation.
Yeah.
Wait, so Aidan, are you planning on pursuing this as much as you can, or are you going to college, focusing on something else and doing this on the side?
It would probably just be on the side. I'm not looking to do this full time, but if Mom needs my help, then fine. She needs all the help she can get.
She's got enough with me. I'm like your older uncle.
Right. Well, I always tell people, because my team is my husband and my son, and I always say, and our dog, and I always say that I train them right. You know, I don't have to worry about who I'm in the dark with. I don't have to worry about, who I'm going into strange locations with. And it's just funny because when we actually filmed Real Haunts Ghost Towns, Aidan was the star of the show. He was like, he took off with EVP sessions and exploring the towns, and he wasn't afraid of anything.
There's not really much to be afraid of when 90% of the town is empty and then you go to a gravesite.
Well, when they attack you, you'll be afraid.
Oh yes, I definitely.
Yeah. You don't want that. That's happened to me quite a lot in my career, and
I get
the whole. You don't want to be attacked. That's for sure.
Yeah, I get the actual real life actual thing is probably just getting embodied and being pushed out for a while, but I just imagine the whole ghost movie stuff where they pick you up and throw you across the hall.
That's happened to me actually.
It takes a strong dose.
Yeah.
I saw a question. Somebody had asked if we have ever experienced, and again, Hailey, and you guys could totally answer this differently. Have we ever wondered if our parents have brought home spirits? So personally, I have not felt anything paranormal in my home ever. I feel like my dad, our whole lives, have always done, he's always done a wonderful job protecting us in the home. He has shared, which he will only do at lectures, never to us, that there are things in our shed and he leaves it under my bed. Like these haunted items and collectibles that he does have. However, I do feel my grandmother a lot. I do know that she is with me. I have a lot of her, special things, special symptoms that she has in my room. So that's a good spirit that I do feel that's always around me. But something paranormal or scary, I've never felt, thank God. My mom would leave him. She would not want to stay in that house. I promise you that. So I think that's something that we've always felt almost protected. Even I've never really felt nervous going to one of Dad's lectures, or if he's invited me to, go to a home and he's like, Em, do you mind taking notes for me? This is important. Can you write this down? I've never really felt like I've ever had a scary experience, which I'm very thankful that we have our strong religion. we trust our dad. We trust that he's always going to protect us. So I don't know what's different for you guys and Hailey or Aidan, but that's my experience with that.
I'll step in. I will say too, because a comment passed and I want to answer it. Someone asked if any of our friends have asked about their houses being investigated. Short answer is no. They've never asked. They just found interest in it. But to continue with Emily's conversation, I've never had any paranormal experience personally. I have not been around enough to be as involved. However, our grandmother passed just over
2 years ago, Monday.
2 years ago on Monday.
So I guess the closest I can get to an experience would be not only the day of her death. We had asked her to come to us through Ladybugs, which was a big inspiration with the book that Emily wrote and I illustrated. The day of her death, she passed early in the afternoon. So what do you do the rest of the day? So we just went to Marshall's, my mom and I, to just try to get away from it for a moment. And in the parking lot of Marshall's, a ladybug came onto our car, onto the windshield. And I remember just bawling my eyes out at how convenient and how immediate that was. And then of course I never get any ladybugs any other time. Everyone else gets the ladybugs. But on the 2-year anniversary of her passing, the other day my father comes home, walks in the door, and I freak out because I see a ladybug on his shirt. And
yeah, it's right here.
If anyone has him on Facebook, I don't know if it's public or not. I think you posted about it.
Emily did.
There was a ladybug walking across his shirt. So we got pictures of it. We managed to put it on a 4-leaf clover plant that we had to get some pictures. But I think that's the closest we've got, on top of one of your friends.
Well, but you see the ladybug.
It's kind of whitewashed. Yeah, that's my neck.
Yeah.
The ladybug.
There it is. But on top of that, one of your friends is a psychic medium who ended up reading our house and finding envisioning, I don't know how to properly explain it, but she saw our grandmother in my sister's window. Again, I'm not living at home, so Emily's got a lot more of her belongings in her room, and obviously with the book dedicated to her, there's just so much love and I guess mourning in that room, all tied in one, that I think she really just hopefully clung to that. So yeah, I guess that's the closest I can get to paranormal experiences, is thankfully my grandmother coming back and showing love.
And one thing I remember Ed Warren always taught me, and my wife, who's a saint for putting up with me all these years, and if she's listening, I'm trying to get brownie points, yes. But seriously, one thing Ed Warren used to say, and I talk to people about this at my lectures, is that if you truly believe that something is a sign from a past loved one, okay, it is. Because who's gonna say it's not? With my wife, it's rainbows. My wife unfortunately lost many of her immediate family members very young, and we struggled through those times. It was even before our children were born, and every time, and this just happened the other day, every time my wife sees a rainbow, she perceives that as her family, her past loved ones, smiling down on her, telling her everything's going to be fine. And you know what? And Ed Warren told her one day, because we were all together, we went out to lunch, and he said, if you really feel that's a sign from your mother, your father, your brothers, then it is. Who's going to say it's not?
Take it as a sign.
Take it as a sign.
On
right?
top of last summer, on grandmother's birthday, that's on my Facebook, I went to a scenic overlook and I just started crying. And in the clouds, I cried because in the clouds I saw the clearest cross, heavenly cross. And that's on my Facebook. I guess that's the other one. But Aidan, do you have any experience?
What your story?
I have one.
It depends on which one he wants to share.
Yeah, right?
I don't remember most of them. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while.
It's just another Tuesday.
Were you beaten as a child? That's what I want to know.
It was just Tuesday.
Sorry. Throw holy water on me.
Trying to think of other ones.
Think, boy, think.
Which one sticks out in your mind? Was it ever physical? Was it more emotional?
The only one I can think of is the one I don't want to say.
Yeah,
Just say it.
The bathroom story.
We're all friends here. We've all been there. I was probably just there 5 minutes ago. Well, that's for another show. Okay.
He's the handicap
So I
stall.
know Jeff wants to hear
I
this.
agree with Jeff.
Oh my God.
Do you want me to sell it?
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
I can't keep myself.
Go ahead, Mom.
And what's funny is we actually shared this on the documentary, so like the world knows it. But we were investigating a location. It's the place that we would go to all the time with the team I was a part of that we did our training at. And Aidan was in training to be a junior investigator on that team. And he went to the bathroom, which was known to be haunted. You know, people would see apparitions, the lights would flicker, water would turn on its own, banging noises, and a whole bunch of stuff. Well, he goes in there, and I'm just, wandering the hallway waiting for him to finish. And all of a sudden, the door cracks open a little bit, and he's like, "Hey, Mom." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Someone's knocking on the wall in here." I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "Well, there's a ghost in there and it's known to happen." And he's like, "Oh." And I'm like, "Go finish so we can finish investigating." And he's like, And he comes running on the hallway, buttoning his pants up.
Keep in mind.
He refused to go back in.
Keep in mind, they tell me the fact that the ghost in there after I try to go in.
The ghost had to go.
Yeah,
I'm usually in there saying, "Please, God, help me to release this demon."
It was
He
just
has
one.
no problem.
But yeah, we always pick on him about that. That was quite humorous.
I think
And
my
Jeff, it
most
is.
beautiful story. Oh, I'm sorry, Heather.
Oh, no, go
Please
ahead.
Finish.
I know I didn't know
Oh,
you were
I
done.
was
I
just
was going to
gonna
another
say-
question.
Oh no, that's okay. I think now that we're thinking about it, I think my most beautiful story that really I would say would be anything related to our loved ones who have passed or other ones is my grandmother did come to me in a dream. And that was the first time. So unfortunately, my grandma or our grandma was the only grandparent that we had. My dad was saying, unfortunately, my mom lost a lot of people very young. We never met any of them. So we all had a very close relationship with my grandmother. And she actually came to me in a dream and she looked beautiful. She was healthy. She was happy. It was weird though, because I remember in the sky, an angel shot out from the sky, came all the way down and said to me, "Go and see your grandmother." And I said, I'm on my way. Where do you think I'm going? I'm trying to get to her. So I remember walking through this cave and it was like a dark cave. However, it opened up to a bright, beautiful party. There's a lot of people. She looked great. And then I remember I had to leave. There was something that I had to do. And I remember I left and I said, "Oh my God," I had a gut feeling. And I said, "I got to go back. She's got to go home," meaning she's going back to heaven. And I said, "I have to go back. I have to go back." And my grandma was back in a wheelchair. She looked, like she was kind of ready to go back home. And I remember one thing that sorry, it gets me a little emotional. One thing I always regret is I want to say more cards and have her handwriting. And I remember she actually wrote something down in my dream and said, "I will always love you. I'm always with you." And it gives me the goosebumps because after that, it was like the lights turned off. I woke up and that to me was that recognition that she's still with me. And then as Hailey had mentioned a few minutes ago, my dad had this woman who he was speaking to said that there was a woman looking out my bedroom window with short gray, curly hair and glasses. And who else does that describe? That's my grandmother, Sheila. And so right away, tears are flowing, not meaning to cry. And I'm just like, wow. So again, believing those signs. At the end of my book, there's a page that says there are signs everywhere. Just look around. And
It's right there.
yeah, I know. I think Heather's got it. And that is something that I stick to this day. And I just fully believe that whatever you believe in, your loved ones, whoever you see, that Sheila, I see Courtney saying that was my grandma's name. That's another sign. It's just these beautiful things that just pop up. I think that was probably one of my most special moments in this kind of field. So sorry about the bathroom story, Aidan, but I'm glad you made it out there, buddy, with your pants buttoned. Because I've heard stories that my dad said guys have ran out of the bathroom and their pants are still hanging low.
If there's anything, Aidan, they can only go up from here. So I want people in the chat to tell us what their signs are for their loved ones.
Yep.
So anyone in the chat,
We already have a
Jeff,
Sheila.
Courtney, what are your signs for people that have passed on? Because I'm interested to hear what you guys like to look for. But yeah.
I know, Jeff. It was 2, Jeff. Just so you know.
It was one.
It was fine.
No, mine.
Oh,
Oh,
yours.
yours.
Were you there with him?
God, I hope not. That would be terrible.
Holding his hand.
Oh
Scary.
my
I
God.
remember. It's not a funny story, but I was out on an investigation. It was a pretty serious one years ago, and I was torn because Laura was home very, very pregnant with twins, and Laura unfortunately had a lot of, I don't want to say morning sickness because it was nighttime. She was sick a lot, during the pregnancy, and I was out, and I'm like, "You sure you don't want me to stay?" She's like, "No, go," because she knew I was out there helping people. That's why I said she's been my rock all
She
these
knew
years.
he'd only make it worse.
So the poor thing is home in bed, laying there, throwing up probably, and I'm out, on an investigation. But it wasn't one of those public investigations. This was at a residential where we're trying to help somebody. But I always remembered that case because I felt bad that her belly was out to here and she was ready to pop, and I'm not home. So. I'll have a lot of haters out there now. I can't believe
That's why your
my
kid's
wife, I'm alone
butt now.
They're putting pregnant, and I'm out ghost hunting. But
I like people commenting though. I
Mhm.
like because Drops of Jupiter. If you hear that song nowadays, I'm sure it's even crazier to hear. Like
Mhm.
you don't hear that every
Yeah,
house.
that's a beautiful song.
oh, Jeff, you're killing me.
Yeah, that's sweet though, Courtney. It's weird that it's specifically the right side. I
Mhm.
wonder if you had some. She was like a right-handed woman. Like I don't know.
I'm trying to read them. Yeah.
I know, right? I'm trying to get to everyone. I don't want anyone to feel like they got missed.
Sometimes it's hard. They get ahead of me quite a bit whenever I
Yeah.
do the shows.
I mean,
Yeah. But Todd's he's starring the questions, so we're able to go back and look at those if we need
Okay.
to.
Oh, cool.
I was wondering if there's anybody out there that has questions specifically for the kids.
Yeah, I know Jeff had asked, Aidan, why do you do this work?
I don't know.
His
You don't
mom
know?
forced me
No.
to.
It's gotta be.
Mom makes me go.
Because mom shoved the recorder in my hand and said, "Go up to the attic by yourself."
Why would I feel like? Why
No, she just gave me the recorder and said, "Go, my child. Remember, you can never be possessed."
Be free.
it's cool. I would like to. I mean, listen, I've got my own goals, but to do this, I would love to see what kind of connections you can make with something so like non-physical. You know what I mean? You can't capture this
It's not
unless you're a
it's not tangible.
Ghostbuster. But yeah, you can't. It's hard to capture stuff like this. It's hard to fully believe it unless you've been immersed in it. Like that's another thing. I'm a very see to believe it person.
Yep.
The only reason I believe in this more than I believe in Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster is because of his devotion to it. Otherwise, like, prove it. You know what I mean?
No, I'll introduce you
think
down to the skunk ape here in Florida.
I'll give him a hug. I think some of these
from my
cryptids just need a hug.
experience-
That's it.
Yeah, someone was talking about
I
something.
think from my experience and just having my dad do this like our whole lives, I think that I've actually become a teacher in a sense of this, because I know there are a lot of my friends who have now or in the past played with Ouija boards. As I see, there's one literally over my head in the corner here.
We
but
put it there on purpose.
oh, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Oh, why don't you tell them the joke of the Emily Rose comment you have for me?
What?
Emily Rose.
My
Oh
name?
yeah, I tease her all the time because Rose is her middle name. So I call her the exorcism of Emily Rose. I said, if I shaved your head, I'll find 3 6s up there in the scalp.
And
No.
that's because he
You'll
tattooed them
just-
there when you were born.
Yeah.
You guys are
It
very
wouldn't pass
protected.
me.
Trust me. You're
So,
very
but
protected.
it's funny because I'll tell my friends, I'm like, I don't know, it's not really a good idea to do that because you're opening a door to something, but you don't know what you're letting in.
Mhm.
And they're kind of like, oh, Em, you're crazy. I'm trying to call my grandma. I go, your grandma may not look like what she used to look like here, So I think, again, there's a lot of knowledge that I've gotten from my dad that I never would have ever. I guess if you asked me a question, would I ever thought of getting into this work one day, I would have said no, absolutely not. I would want to be more on the side of the signs and things versus, of course, more the demonic side. However, I do know that a lot of times my dad tells stories where they're not even bad. You know, a lot of these people have just family members who unfortunately are kind of stuck in the in between. They can't move on. So I think it's important that people are, you know, knowledgeable in this field as well before kind of just going in and thinking that, hey, I'm going to go play with a Ouija board or do seances and do some witchcraft and things. It's probably not what you want to do. You may want to talk to somebody first.
I'm sure you guys have talked about those on this podcast already, but I think you explain it best, the dangers of touching them and what can be drawn, because it's not the good spirits looking to jump on first. Can you elaborate on that?
Huh? Well, I mean, yeah. You know, I mean,
who like, you're using a Ouija board, what are you most likely to see first?
And you guys have heard me say this a million times, but with a Ouija board or any other form of divination, it's the intent behind it. I think Heather and I agree on that.
Yes.
You know, if you're going in with the intention to conjure spirits and seeking you know, knowledge of the future through supernatural means, you can be bringing in my humble opinion, you can be letting in spirits that you don't want. It's like opening your front door and saying, hey, come on in, but what are you letting in? Oh, don't worry, it's just the spirit of a little girl or a little boy. I said, well, that's what it wants you to believe, because it wants to gain your trust. So you, by your own free will allow this into your life. And then once it's in, you know, you can't just, you know, kick it out. It's not that easy, because through your own free will, which is one thing in my belief, that it cannot touch. It cannot take your free will unless you give it voluntarily. You know, and that's where the dangers are. Regardless of what form of, you know, Ouija board, you don't even need a Ouija board. You can just sit and have a seance or a spirit box session, you know.
Or acknowledge it.
Exactly. You know, and once you've acknowledged it, you're basically saying, you know, come on in. Even if you're joking around, you know, if you're standing there saying, you know, come and get me, or show me yourself, or whatever. I mean, you're given that, whatever it may be, you know, negative entity, whatever, you know, that authority to come into your life. And that's not always going to turn out, you know, good for you. And that's why we have people like us that try to help those people. You know, and I tell you, the majority of the cases that I work on and I have worked on over the past, Emily, you can elaborate on the lady that contacted you a couple of weeks ago. You know, people have things going on in their homes or their place of business. They don't understand what they're experiencing. And it's normal to be frightened, because it's above your five senses. You can't comprehend, you know, why lights are flickering on and off. I'm like, well, you know, check the electrical, you know, something like that. You know, or why is this doll moving or something like that? It's hard for most people to comprehend that. So a lot of people, you know, they're not crazy and they're not making it up. It's very real to them. And they just need someone with that knowledge and experience to go over there and listen to them, not set up a zillion cameras necessarily and do a full-blown investigation if that's not needed. You know, it's just to go over there and be an ear for them, give them a shoulder to lean on and say, look, you're not crazy. Let's try this, this, and this. And then you dive into, you know, have you had any loved ones that have passed recently? Have you had any tragedies happen recently? You know, you know, what's the history of the home? Was there any kind of, you know, suicides or murders, or, you know, which is a case I just worked on in New York, where there was a double homicide in a home. And, you know, those things can, you know, those are vibrations that can remain in the environment, in the halls, you know, or even if you have a spirit that's, you know, a past owner of the property and they grew up there and they lived there for 90 years, you know, their spirit may decide to live on through their own free will and not go on into the light. They may stay there, or they may come in visitation. I mean, these are all theories that we have. We can never prove this, you know. I feel in our lifetime, you know, spirits come in their time, not our time. You know, I'll let you guys talk.
Well, I do have a question for both of you, for the professionals. I guess, Aidan, you're a little professional too. So that being said, how do you determine which house and which investigation is worthy of your time and energy? Because I'm sure you get people that are like, the vase dropped, and all of a sudden they think it's the Antichrist. Like, how do you
Well, it is.
determined.
Because only the Antichrist would kick over a vase.
Right.
Heather, you can go ahead and answer that one. I've talked enough. You guys don't want to hear me anymore.
No, it's just it's been so long since we've done a residential. Actually, as far as going into a home, we haven't gone into a home since we moved from Vegas 2 years ago. Because I do an extensive interviews on the phone. Then I have them fill out a questionnaire that they have to email to me. Then we do a video chat, and it takes a good 3 to 4 months before I even consider going into the home, because I want to get to know them on a personal level so I feel safe. And then also you kind of want to make sure that they're willing to put in the work too. So in between each call we do, I give them homework. Whether it's like, if they have a Ouija board, tell them to get it out of the house, or, start, praying, or whatever they do for their religious beliefs, start doing that regularly. And I just, continually give them little pieces of homework. And if they don't do it, then I just, hold back until they're ready to do the work themselves.
What are the signs that they have to tell you they're experiencing for you to actually like perk your ear up?
Just anything, actually, because I mean, when it comes to, I don't really want to use the D word, but when it comes to demonic or negative energy that's in the home, 9 times out of 10, it starts slow. It starts with, a simple scent. And it could even be a perfume that your grandmother wore. Just trying to get your attention and get you to acknowledge that it's there. It can be, things moving on your table. It could be, seeing dark shadows out of the corner of your eye. So I view every case the same until I'm given reason not to.
And, I totally agree with a lot of what Heather said, because, giving the homework is funny because we use the same terminology. Most cases, if not all cases, I do more investigating before I decide to take the case, because we have to do our homework. And this woman who happens to be a neighbor of mine, I haven't even met her yet. I've only spoken to her on the phone, and I hadn't heard from her in a week or so. And I sent her a message to say, hey, I've been thinking about you guys. I'm going to take it as a good sign that I haven't heard from you in a little over a week. And she said, things have been pretty good here. We've done what you've asked us to do, and it seems to be working, kind of a thing. I said, listen, I'm here if you need to talk, but I did have an appointment to go over and see them. They're literally about 3/4 of a mile away. But something happened. One of the parents had to go into work, so we had to reschedule. But I haven't even been there yet. And one thing I'll just add for people that may not know this, but she's like, Joe, I forgot to ask you, what is your fee? And I said, there's never a fee to help people. I said, we don't, any reputable person would not charge a fee for their help. Where we charge a fee is if we do a lecture series where we're trying to educate the public. I always say I do two main things is to educate people and help people. Okay. And when you're giving of your time to do a lecture or a presentation, then we may charge a nominal fee. It's not a lot. It just pays, it's gas money, but getting back to what I was saying, I tell folks, I'm not going to come in with a proton pack on my back and get rid of whatever you think is here.
Cross streams.
Yeah, don't cross the streams. That's bad. But, I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you help yourself. I'm going to have your 6, but I'm going to give you the strength, the motivation, the guidance to deal with whatever is here, but unfortunately with TV and movies today, everything, because to make, put butts in the seats and make money, everything is negative, or we'll use the D word, demonic, because that's what grabs people's attention. That's what they want to hear. I have people say to me all the time, I'm fascinated by the work you do, but I wouldn't want anything to do with it myself. I said, well, that's good. I said, because this work isn't for everybody. In my opinion, there's way too many people in this field today that shouldn't be, because they're not in it for the right reasons. And I hope that, they're not going to be affected in some way. So
the woman who my dad is talking about, I was going to tell, actually reached out to me first. Someone had a question. Does anybody, ever reach out to us to get to your dad or somebody that he knows? This woman actually had anonymously, posted something saying she's very scared. She feels as though something, is going on in her home. She feels it's haunted. What can she do? So a lot of people had commented on this post saying, call a priest. go and call, like right away, call a priest. That was the first thing. So what I did is I left a comment and I said, we live in the same town. My dad is a paranormal investigator. This is something that he does. He would love to help you. So this woman actually messaged me, showed me her identity and said, listen, I'm very scared. I need help. So I said, my dad would love to help you. Turns out she literally lives down the road from us, which again was like, wow, that's definitely weird. And so she ended up, contacting my dad. Seems as though it was just, kind of a family member. My dad has said, things kind of calmed down and things. However, they weren't a religious family. So those priest comments meant nothing to them because they weren't a religious family.
They were agnostic, yeah.
And so I think to them, those comments of like, call a priest, they were like, that's not what I want to do. What can I do? How can I get help? So I thought that was pretty fascinating that people had reached out to me and said, hey, listen, I'm stuck here. So the girl actually thanked me and said, thank you so much because things have calmed down. I didn't even get to tell you that yet, Dad. I don't see you now.
Oh,
but
no,
the girl actually
I didn't know that.
The girl, had said thank you so much. And again, being able to be the messenger and things and just help people, even that small thing for me just made the rest of my day. Because even though I didn't do a lot, I still was somebody who was able to help her. And that's what makes me so happy. And then having my father help people also makes me so happy. So my heart's just full.
I have a question because you mentioned agnostic, and I mean, when we're talking about priests, we're probably talking about Catholicism, Christianity.
Well, that's how we were raised, and that's how I was trained. But there are many other religions out there.
That being said, though, with all these other religions, do they have their own paranormal ways of getting rid of demons? I said the D word. I said the D word.
Negative energies, Heather likes to say.
Yeah. Well, every religion has its own rite of exorcism. Even the spiritual realm that I follow and the paganism, we call them negative energies, but they're essentially the same thing as demonic. And we have shamans that come out and can do the exorcisms, but it's, all the same thing, just under different names.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Something demonic, in one culture, it's probably going to be in every culture. Yeah. And if there is one in every culture, that means there's going to be people to get rid of them.
Because now with all at least the American films that we see, with the Catholic priest says, like, the power of Christ compels you, like, hitting Emily Rose as her head is spinning. Like, what would do other foreign films of other religions showing different things? Is, like, Emily, like, doing twirls?
She got them from her mother.
I am the
beautiful mother
of that movie.
I'm actually trying to think.
But are there foreign films
compared to that soul?
I don't know if you know. Are there foreign films that you know of that show different ways of approaching this?
There are. I can't think of a film off the top of my head, but they're out there. I mean, the way my belief is that we're all made from one higher being. Regardless of what religion or, Allah or Buddha or whatever you believe in, like Heather said, each form has their own way of dealing with these things. I obviously am most familiar with the Catholic way because I was born and raised Roman Catholic. I was taught by the Warrens in the Catholic tradition. But I'm obviously very open-minded, and I that's why Heather and I compliment each other.
He's learned a lot from me.
I learned a lot from you, yeah. And you keep me in line.
Go, girl.
Yeah.
When Laura's not around, you keep me in line.
It's like with the Native American cultures, they use chanting, form of dancing, different herbs, their sweat lodges, and all of that stuff. So it all depends on their different beliefs and what they use.
Drums. Ooh.
Yeah, and drums and sound is a powerful thing. I actually have a sound bowl that I played when I meditate, and it's amazing what you
like one of those spinning ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
I love those.
The prayer bowls? Yeah. That's from like Nepal. Mm-hmm. Actually, I have one here that belongs to my friend Chris. I'm holding it for him. I have one of those prayer bowls. I make tuna fish in it, but he doesn't know that. So
Heather, I have a question for you.
Get a salad.
So I feel as though like my dad has done a lot in his, belief and faith to protect us in the home. What is it that you do for you and your family?
Well, the first thing when we move into a house is I have 4 quartz crystals that get placed on. I need to get them for the second floor because I just feel like our second floor, because this is the first time we've had the second story, but they get put in the house in the shape of a pentacle with the north point facing, or with the top point facing north. And then I use that to meditate, and that creates the bubble around the house. Then I have little jars over the top of our doors that are filled with rosemary, sage, marjoram, and I have blessed sea salt from Reverend Sean Whittington from Vegas that I put in there, and they're on top of all of our doors. And then I also sprinkle the yard with the blessed sea salt from Reverend Sean.
I have a weird question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the weirdest thing you've had blessed?
I can't say that on the air.
Oh, you asked him about the toilet story, and you
Next question.
That's a good question. Was
it the number 1 or was it number 2?
Because it says AR.
That's not holy water.
But then he says, I don't know if it's talking to me or not.
Let's see. Let's take questions from the audience here.
Anything to skip that question,
Let's see what would Jeff do?
Jeff would play Slipknot. Bless his CD.
But yeah, it's just.
Yeah. Let's look into the questions here.
Yep. What is the nerdiest thing your parents have ever said?
Yeah, I saw that one. It's like every 30 seconds he tops himself. So I don't really know how to pick one.
Yeah.
This one nerds out
She's
about.
Definitely mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I take after mom.
She's the evil one. She's the evil twin. Hannibal. She's back there somewhere.
I can be Annabelle if she's Emily Rose. Haley Annabelle.
Yeah.
This one.
I saw Jeff ask the question if we've ever played with a Ouija board. No, Jeff.
Yeah,
never will.
No, I would never allow that.
About something similar.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to go near that stuff. Like I said, I feel very protected. I feel very blessed. I have, all of my guardian angels that I feel is always with me. And I want to keep it that way. I don't want to open any doors that I do not need to be opening. So, Aidan, have you ever played with a Ouija board?
I've never played one because I can't read. But Aidan,
I've been waiting.
That's why I wrote the book, right?
But
speak, boy.
I never played with one, but surprisingly, I have 2 instances where people have done something similar or played with one, and one was surprisingly on a cruise ship.
Oh, there you go.
It was just they have this little.
Was there an iceberg involved?
Too soon.
I was gonna say that.
Too soon.
No. I wasn't even thinking that.
Yeah.
But in like one of the Carnival ships, I don't know if it's in all of them, but they had a little library.
Yeah.
The Concordia?
I don't know.
No, it was the Splendor.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was the week-long trip.
one. But they just had like a bunch of games, parts missing.
Board games with a Ouija board.
That sounds like a carnival cruise.
Yeah.
It would have, board games, pieces missing, the whole 9 yards. And then it had just a Ouija board, and people were messing around with it. And this was like when I didn't even understand or cared enough to even do stuff. So I was just like looking at the piece, the little pick that you just hold, and I'm like,
planchette.
Yeah. You just hold, and I'm like,
see, we're being educational here.
I would just look at it and just be like, this is a weird piece.
Because I don't have one in the house, but I do have spirit boards, but they're circles for pendulums. So but I've never let him use it just because he's not trained.
Yeah.
That one woman hold it and just start doing this.
Yeah, you don't have any in the house, do you?
What?
Like he's going to tell you.
Ouija boards? Yeah, it's under your bed. I forgot. I didn't tell you.
That's the nerdiest thing. I'm not shocked.
No.
Yeah, this is what he has. He has it set on a timer to where he'll ask a question and then send a demon under here.
No self-respecting demon would come here, because if they did, I'd make them do laundry.
We finally catch up.
Yeah.
No, one thing I will just say this: my wife, who is very supportive, and I'm not kidding. She's very supportive, and she's very understanding. However, she did say to me one day, I'll never forget these words. She's like, "Don't ever bring anything home with you." Now,
I got that same lecture.
does it happen? Yes. However, and I can say this, and girls, you can back me up, but in all the years I've been doing this, which is 37 years, I know you're only 24, but nothing has ever bothered them that I know of. No, my son, my daughters, my wife. And I remember after and I'm kind of being funny here, but I remember after one case some years ago, something very dark followed me home, and I knew it was here. I could feel it. I could smell it. And I got so angry. I was so exhausted. I was so tired. And I said, if you touch one of my family members, I said, I will kill myself and come after you in the afterlife. I was I was so angry. And wouldn't you think that thing took off? I mean, within seconds, that thing was gone. I was so angry. I was tired. I was fed up. I wasn't afraid, and it knew it. But I'm like, if you come after my family, I swear to God, I'll come after you in the afterlife.
Yep.
Like get the rosary out for that, and you just say it to the air.
Just wait.
No, you need.
I think the closest that
Speak up.
you've come to have bringing something was
With conviction.
like things that just stayed, or your what was it, grandpa or uncle?
Yeah, my grandfather's attached to a Raggedy Andy doll. But remember that one case that we did where I came home and there was a loud bang on the front door?
Oh yeah, that was
And
weird.
he didn't go on the case with me, but he was in his room, and I came home and the spirit had followed me home because there was like someone punched our front door. And when I looked through the peephole, I could have seen someone running away, and there was no one anywhere in sight. And he comes out of his room. He's like, "What was that noise?"
Demonic ditch.
Mike was asking a question. Yeah, Mike, he remembers bad vibes. Mike is an old childhood friend. Bad vibes in my basement growing up. Yeah, there were, because you know what? We used to use the Ouija board and conduct seances in my basement in West Haven, Connecticut. And I remember during a seance, when I didn't know what I was doing, I think I might have been 12. My brother and I were down there, and literally 2 or 3 batteries, D-volt batteries, came flying across the basement from somewhere, and it didn't scare me at first because I thought somebody was joking around. We searched that basement. There was nothing there, no one hiding. But one of the batteries, because we found the batteries, but one of the batteries actually hit the light bulb and smashed it. But it was during one of these seance sessions. We used to, we didn't know what we were doing. We're just kids. But we had a table. Everybody's got their hands on the table. Like, if you're here, give us a sign and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I mean, yeah, we were innocent children, but we were playing with fire. So, Mike, you're probably onto something there. There was probably something in my basement, and it may still be there, but I don't live there anymore, so I don't care.
That's their problem. They can hire one.
That's somebody else's problem now.
We have about 2 more minutes left before we got to start winding things down.
Well,
Haley, I have a quick question for you.
Oh,
Tarot
okay.
cards.
Sorry, Casey.
So, do you ever feel, because I feel like I have a very strong intuition, and when I walk into somewhere, I kind of feel like I either have a good feeling or I have a bad feeling. Well, tonight I had a bad feeling, and then it came true. Nothing, to the point where I think something bad is going to happen. It's just I know something doesn't feel right. Do you ever have those thoughts or feelings?
Absolutely not.
Whenever she talks to me.
There's nothing, absolutely nothing going on up here. I feel so blissfully ignorant to everything going on around me at all times that it's almost upsetting, because you know how many times I've asked God for a sign and it's probably smacked me in the face and I've like, what was that? And moved on. Like, again, maybe I have to get more in tune with either myself or my religion, but I'm really bad at picking up on that. Like, I really had to get smacked in the face with a ladybug to think that I was grandma.
Yep. And
Yeah,
Aidan
do
wanted
you
to
remember
answer.
the story? Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Aidan wanted to answer the question on tarot cards.
Yeah, get to Casey.
Yeah,
before we
go ahead.
Yep.
So the first time, like I've actually heard about the tarot cards and I thought they were interesting. The first time I've ever had like one done, I don't want to get into it. Nothing bad happened. It was just a different time and I just didn't want to talk about it right now. But I actually have a set of tarot cards. I don't think they're not official. I don't think you can actually use them as tarot cards, but they're like in a style of a video game I like. And they actually did a pretty good job of putting the characters to which ones. So, I mean,
I have a very good friend who reads me with tarot cards. I've never done them myself. She actually told me that I should look into them because I'm very in tune and I have this sense of healing people, which was actually very interesting. She actually lives right down the road from us. She reads me. I've never done that. I feel like if I actually took a second to actually sit down and see if I could do that, I would like to try. But there was kind of going back to asking you guys if you guys had any intuition feelings and things. I do remember there was an incident where my dad, I was actually babysitting and I had a terrible, terrible gut feeling. And I just said, I know something is wrong. I know there's something wrong, but I don't know what it is. And it turns out my father was face down on the lawn, passed out. And he was going to the hospital. And I remember my mom didn't tell me because she knows that I worry. That's, it's my heart. I worry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And it turns out that bad feeling was just my sixth sense saying, hey, something happened. And they didn't tell me for a few hours, but I knew. I said, what's going on? And Dad, do you remember that? You had that incident with your heart?
Well, yeah, that's when I found out I had some heart issues a few years ago. It's the first time in my life I remember I was outside in the garden and I felt woozy and I guess I passed out. So I wasn't drunk, Jeff, before you say anything.
And we're going to have to start wrapping it up before Todd disconnects us.
We need another hour.
I know. We'll have to do this again because this was definitely fun. And there were some questions that Aidan wanted to get to, but I'll write them down and we'll make sure we get to them next time.
Sorry, we talk a lot. We get that from my dad.
That's no problem.
DJ knows it's over.
Just have us back.
So, but thank you everyone for watching. We'll definitely have the kids on again. And next week, I hope we can talk about lighthouses, Joe.
Yeah.
So
I love you all, my peeps, especially you, Jeff.
So we'll see you guys next week. Have a great night.
Thanks everyone for your support.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you all. Thanks, Aidan.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.